Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, fine as Astro. This is Battlefield 1. In today's weapon review, we're going to be revisiting the SMG 0818, initially of course introduced in the In the Name of the Tsar DLC for the Assault class in Battlefield 1, but now in the Apocalypse DLC, radically changed from its previously relatively ineffective state. As per usual for these weapon reviews, we're going to be looking at the unlock requirements for those of you who never bothered to unlock this weapon, which understandably previously really wasn't worth the effort. Now, some are going to argue definitely it's worth the unlock time. We're going to be looking at the weapon stats, how it performs on the battlefield, how the different variants compare to each other and other available weaponry to the Assault class in Battlefield 1. And lastly, of course, we're going to be talking about how to get the most out of this weapon when using it on the battlefield. That being said, let's jump straight into the unlock requirements. Relatively simple here. If you wish to unlock the factory version of the SMG 0818, you're going to have to get 15 kills with the MP18 Trench, as well as 10 kills with the anti-tank grenade. If you wish to unlock the optical variant of this weapon, you're going to have to get 50 kills with the automatical M1918 Trench, as well as, and this is likely the hardest part of all of these assignments, destroy 5 tanks with anti-tank mines. Having then unlocked the weapon, let's take a look at the base stats here. For the factory variant, we've got a maximum damage as per tkae patch, of course, more or less standard, 28, and a minimum damage of 15, netting you a 4-shot kill within 12 meters. The fire rate is the first part of this weapon that really has seen the apocalypse treatment, if you so will, going from what I believe was previously 450 rounds per minute all the way up to 770 rounds per minute, making it the second fastest assault weapon when it comes to damage output. Of course, leaving shotguns to one side. The only weapon in the assault class of weaponry that is capable of outdamaging this one, that is automatic, that is not a shotgun, is of course the Maschinenpistole. So this weapon comes with 770 rounds per minute, a typical bad muzzle velocity for SMGs at 380. The magazine size has stayed the same, relatively generous here at 81 bullets available to you. The reload time, understandably long because of that, with a short reload of 3.95 seconds and a long reload, that's when all your bullets are gone, at 4.5 seconds. Recoil is another area of this weapon that has seen, well, substantial changes to accommodate the extremely high fire rate. You've now got vertical recoil of 0.47 and absolutely destructive horizontal recoil at 0.6, both to the left and right, of course, as well as a first shot recoil multiplier of 2.333. Spread values are exactly what you would expect for an SMG of this caliber with this kind of purpose, with a base ADS that's aiming down sight while not moving of 0.3, ADS while moving at 0.5, hip fire decent at 2.25, and a spread increase per shot at 0.045, as well as a first shot spread multiplier both for ADS and hipfire of 5. This weapon is going to spray absolutely everywhere, and you're not going to be able to hit anything but in close quarters, but that's no surprise given its absolutely massive damage output, and that's what this weapon is really intended for. When it comes to the differences between the factory and of course the optical variant, well, they aren't necessarily as pronounced as they previously were when this weapon was still more of a medium range focused weapon, but they are essentially the same. As such, the biggest difference between these two weapons is that one is iron sights, the other, as optical variant, has of course an optical sight on it. Which of the two you prefer is to a large extent going to be down to which of those sights you personally find yourself more accurate with. There is, however, some stat differences to note as well, of course, between these two weapons. The first of them being a difference in first shot recoil multiplier, with the first shot recoil multiplier on the factory version at 2.333 being lower than the 2.8 on the SMG 0818. Recoil decrease as well as worse on the optical version of this weapon, with only 8 versus 16. Not that that makes too much of a difference in my personal experience. What does make a difference is, however, the accuracy of these weapons, which is once more different. Here, the optical variant takes the lead with a base ADS of 0.225 versus the 0.3 on the factory, a ADS while moving of 0.375 versus the 0.5 of the factory, and a slightly lower first shot spread multiplier of 4 versus the 5 on the factory variant. The last difference, of course, being spread decrease between these weapons, typical for an optical versus factory comparison. The factory variant here comes on top when it comes to this. Overall, really, as I've said previously, the difference here is a matter of optic primarily. If you don't mind the iron sights, I would stick with the iron sights, because while the SMG 0818 is technically more accurate at the ranges you're using it, not really going to help you because the horizontal recoil is still there and it's absolutely going to destroy any kind of accuracy you want. And in close quarters, well, spray and pray is where it's at with this weapon, but the slightly lower first shot recoil multiplier, in my opinion, is possibly going to make a small difference to how well you can control this weapon, and then thus in this case I prefer the lower first shot recoil multiplier over the better otherwise spread attributes, thus choose the factory over the optical variant. But where does this weapon really sit when it comes to the general SMG category of weapon? We've already said that it is the second fastest time to kill weapon for the assault class, not looking at shotguns of course as previously mentioned, which means it's faster damaging than the Automatico, not a lot, but nevertheless there is a small difference between it and the Automatico. It obviously outdamages the Hellriegel. One of the disadvantages however of this weapon, and this it shares with the Hellriegel, is an extremely slow time to ADS, especially the optical variant in my experience, takes I believe up to 400 milliseconds to actually aim down sight, which if you're trying to extend your weapon's range from say only 15 meters where you can still use the hipfire relatively comfortably to 20 where you can just about still hit something if ADS, the recoil of this weapon is extremely severe, I should say at this point. That time difference really can be a pain in the ass, and that's a problem with the Hellriegel as well. On the other hand, this weapon out-damages the Hellriegel quite comfortably in close quarter. So where it sits really is, it's not as flexible as a Hellriegel or an Automatico. Those two weapons now essentially are in many ways more flexible SMGs than they previously were, especially Automatico with its recoil reduction that it saw in this patch as well. The SMG has really taken the place essentially of the Automatico with a mixture of some of the Hellriegel attributes as well. It's an exclusively close quarter spray, gun down 5 people quite easily weapon that as soon as you leave 15, maximum 20 meters is essentially absolutely useless against any target that is aware of your position and is at full health, because you're going to be hitting 1 or 2 of your shots. You can try and tap fire this weapon a little bit to try and make it more accurate. However, that's going to affect your time to kill to the point where you're still being outgunned by pretty much everything on the battlefield. But that's simply the matter of balance. This weapon obviously can't be a magnificent medium range performer while absolutely tearing it up in close quarters. The changes do however mean that this weapon now has a place. Previously as medium long range SMG, it didn't matter that it was super accurate, had low recoil, because its damage model was so bad that it still had an atrocious time to kill and got out damaged by any weapon class that was suited for the ranges it was trying to engage in. And of course, in close quarters, it got wrecked by anything else because of its low fire rate. This new SMG 018 has at least got a place. If you're playing on an extreme close quarter map, lots of players, you know, you're going to be engaging multiple targets at a time frequently or flanking people in close proximity to them, then the SMG 018, especially if you hip fire it, is an absolutely fantastic weapon, and I was able to go on quite a number of tears with it, had a bunch of fun with it as well. If I was looking for a more daily driver, however, for the assault class, something that's more flexible, capable of dishing out damage, say easily up to 30-35 meters, I would be looking at the Hellriegel or the Automatico. They simply have significantly less recoil. I mean, if we look at the Hellriegel, its horizontal recoil is 0.38 versus the 0.6 on the optical. If you look at the Automatico Storm, it's basically got half the amount of horizontal recoil to that of the SMG 018. Even the trench variant of the Automatico has less recoil in absolutely every department than the optical variant or the factory variant of the SMG 0818. They're just easier to control. Now, admittedly, of course, the Automatico has a lower per bullet damage, but if you're not hitting your bullets because you've got so much horizontal recoil, then having a great damage per bullet is absolutely no use to you. And I thus will prefer the weapon that is going to actually land its shots and thus guarantee me the kill than the weapon that I essentially have to pray that the recoil falls in such a way that I actually hit a couple of bullets outside of 20 meters. So if you're going for that close quarter only Rambo gun style, this is the weapon you're going to want to choose. For everything else, for your daily driver on the assault class, likely stick to the Hellriegel, stick to the Automatico, stick to the Riberol or MP18. Those are more reliable, more flexible choices that will overall serve you better when it comes to the battlefield. That being said, however, I'd like to know your opinion on the new SMG 0818, as well as, of course, your usual video suggestions. So leave those down below in the comments or hit me up with them on Twitter. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. But with all that being said, I'd like to thank you very much for watching and hope to see you in the next Battlefield 1 video.